hate that.
Do what you want to do, John. They'll have you in bed,
Yeah.
for 6 months.
With her cheerful, alliterative stage name, the smiley blonde occupied a parallel world to her contemporary Marilyn Monroe. Women wanted to be her, and men wanted to marry someone like her. At the height of her career, Doris Day suddenly found herself entangled in a massive debt of over $20 million. This financial scandal made the 97-year-old star the center of all gossip. It wasn't until much later that the truth about her debt was finally revealed. A figure no one expected had stabbed Doris in the back, plunging her into this enormous debt. This involuntary debt forced her to work relentlessly just to pay it off. So, what exactly happened to Doris's fortune? Follow us as we uncover the painful secret hidden behind this radiant actress's smile. A legendary actress and singer. Her father was a music teacher who left his wife for the mother of Doris's best friend when Day was 11. Her mother moved Day and her older brother to suburban Evanston, Ohio, and worked in a bakery. At 12, Day and a partner won a $500 dance contest. But on the eve of moving to California in 1937, Day badly injured her leg when a train struck the car she was in. Her dancing career was over, but when she sang along with radio tunes during her lengthy hospital stay, her mother realized Day had a remarkable voice and arranged for singing lessons. Doris Day arrived in Hollywood in the late 1940s, already a celebrity, a big band singer on her way to becoming a movie star. She had early success in light musicals, but as they fell out of fashion, she modernized herself in a way that probably confused mid-20th century America. With a bubbly screen presence and a blinding smile, Day was the rare movie heroine who held a great job while having the requisite romance.
That's why I want you to redecorate. That bed is the first thing I want you to get rid of.
In the early 1970s, Day walked away from Hollywood, spending most of the ensuing decades in her beloved Carmel, where she was an outspoken animal rights activist. Her persona hit a cultural motherlode, tapping into what the average post-war woman was about. She was way ahead of her time, a feminist before there was feminism. From 1948 to 1968, Day appeared in 39 films, most often as the wholesome girl next door. At age 46, she made her last film, With 6 You Get Egg Roll.
Night for street walking. She is your wife, isn't she? Mm-hmm.
Day's body of work shows how much of an icon she was, how much she became in her own way the female equivalent of John Wayne or Clint Eastwood. She was at her best in films that allowed her sultry voice and wonderful way with a song to carry some of the dramatic weight. Day also became one of the most popular singers of her generation. Next to Frank Sinatra, Day was the best in the business on selling a lyric. Her rendition of Sentimental Journey, recorded with Brown and his Band of Renown in 1945, brought her a flood of letters from servicemen at the end of World War II. More than 50 years later, her version of the song made it into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Songs she sang were nominated for Academy Awards half a dozen times. 2 won: Secret Love from Calamity Jane, a musical that was her favorite film, and Que Sera, Sera, Whatever Will Be, from The Man Who Knew Too Much, Alfred Hitchcock's 1956 movie that cast her against type as a neurotic American mother abroad. Que Sera, Sera was also inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2012. Of the hundreds of songs Day recorded, the lilting ballad Que Sera, Sera became her trademark. Day initially dismissed it as a nursery rhyme, but adopted its refrain, Whatever will be, as her philosophy for dealing with a turbulent personal life, at odds with her clean-cut screen presence. In 1971, she had helped found Actors and Others for Animals, which rescues stray and mistreated animals. She also pushed for animal rights through the Doris Day Animal Foundation and the Washington-based Doris Day Animal League. She released My Heart in 2011, an album of old recordings that was her first in 17 years, with proceeds earmarked for her foundation. With her son, she also was part owner of the Cypress Inn, a Carmel hotel that welcomes pets. In 1985, the Christian Broadcasting Network approached Day about hosting a talk show called Doris Day's Best Friends that would feature celebrity guests and animals. It aired for 2 years. In a rare Hollywood appearance, Day reluctantly returned in 1989 to accept the Golden Globe's Cecil B. DeMille Award for Lifetime Achievement. When she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, in 2004, she said fear of flying kept her from the White House festivities, although she said she was thrilled to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Los Angeles Film Critics in 2012. Day once again stayed away. Movie exhibitors placed Day in their annual poll of top box office stars 10 times during the 1950s and 60s. 4 times she held the top spot. A sudden financial crisis. Despite a spotlight on stage, she has had a perfectly rotten life. Married 4 times, Day was beaten by her first husband, trombonist Al Jordan, while she was pregnant. She was divorced by 21. He later died by suicide. Her second husband, saxophonist George Weidler, abandoned her within months and said he did not want to be known as Mr. Doris Day. When she married the third husband, another nightmare came. He had secretly contrived to wipe out her fortune. He had lost $20 million of her earnings, possibly through bad investments, and left her $500,000 in debt. He also committed her to star in a television series without telling her, and this is what really happened. After Doris Day was an ascendant star of the 1950s and 60s, she experienced a sudden financial crisis brought on by her husband, who was also her manager, and a Beverly Hills lawyer who squandered her $20 million fortune and left her in debt. Doris Day's husband and agent, Martin Melcher, let a Beverly Hills lawyer named Jerome Rosenthal handle his wife's money. Rosenthal poured it into shoddy investments, took kickbacks, and then charged clients exorbitant fees to save face. Rosenthal's investments included Shamland Bank bond transactions, doomed venture capital projects, bankrupt hotels, and shady oil and gas deals. At that moment, Doris was working away, knowing nothing and trusting. After Day's husband died suddenly in 1968, Rosenthal tried to claim half of Day's remaining fortune. Day sued. During the lawsuit, sheriff's deputies had to use force to get Rosenthal's files. In 1974, a judge decided that Day was owed $22.8 million. Her son said in a 1986 interview that she eventually got some of the money from an insurance company, but nothing like that amount. Day starred in the Doris Day Show after her husband, in addition to losing her money, signed a contract committing her to the show without her knowledge. She agreed to star in the show in order to pay off her debts. It can be said that this scandal greatly affected Doris's image and became a stain on her life. Although she had sworn off marriage, Day married Barry Comden, a restaurant manager, in 1976. When they divorced in 1981, he claimed she preferred the company of dogs. After 5 years, Day refused to renew the sitcom The Doris Day Show. In 1981, she moved to Carmel, the Monterey Bay community she fell for while making the 1956 film Julie, and devoted much of her life to animal welfare. Controversies. Yet her insistence on making mostly sunny, upbeat films earned the rancor of some feminists in the 1960s, who thought Day's roles glorified an ideal woman who never really existed. In a 1976 essay in Ms. Magazine, film critic Molly Haskell presented an early revisionist's view of Day's career. She argued that Day was a proto-feminist who challenged, in her working woman roles, the limited destiny of women to marry, live happily ever after, and never be heard from again. In romantic comedies, her characters often had a career, She played an interior decorator in Pillow Talk and an advertising executive in Lover Come Back. Yet there was no arguing that the luminous blonde entertainer, eternally perky and often dressed to the nines, set men aquiver. She conveyed a unique blend of innocent sexiness that was not so much the woman next door as the woman you wished lived next door, Times critic Charles Champlin wrote in 1988. Doris Day's unusual last request for after death. Doris Day passed away early morning at her Carmel Valley home, having celebrated her 97th birthday on 2019. Day had been in excellent physical health for her age until 2019, contracting a serious case of pneumonia, resulting in her death. She was surrounded by loved ones, including her precious four-leggers, as she passed. Day had made her wishes known to her manager and close friend, Bob Bashara, confirming no funeral, no memorial, and no grave marker. She wanted to be buried in an unmarked grave, and fans wishing to pay their respects can do so by visiting the charity. The Doris Day Animal Foundation said, Doris' passionate work on behalf of dogs, cats, horses, sea lions, raptors, and other animals in need of rescue, veterinary care, and adoption will not end. The Doris Day Animal Foundation is committed to continuing its work as a grant-giving organization, funding smaller animal welfare nonprofits across the country.